Great privilege and distinct honor to introduce the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack H. Obama.
Thank you. And fellow citizens, each time we gather to inaugurate a president, we bear witness to the enduring strength of our Constitution.
But we begin tonight with a tale of two speeches, both from the same man, both from President Obama. One speech that could have been billed as a ballad to the Constitution, a proclamation of American values, a repudiation of the lawless behavior of the last presidential administration, and another speech announcing a radical new claim of presidential power that is not afforded by the Constitution and that has never been attempted in American history, even by George W. Bush and Dick Cheney.
What makes us American is our allegiance to an idea articulated in a declaration made more than 2 centuries ago. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
Our government made a series of hasty decisions. Poorly planned, haphazard approach. Too often, we set those principles aside as luxuries that we could no longer afford. Our government made decisions based on fear rather than foresight.
Hi, everybody. This week, I announced a series of concrete steps we should take to protect our children and our communities from gun violence. I'll do everything in my power to make them a reality. If even one life can be saved, we've got an obligation to try.
When the Obama administration sets a policy where patterns of life are enough of a green light to drop missiles on people or to use, to send in AC-130s to spray them down. If you go to the village of Al-Majla in Yemen, where I was, and you see the unexploded cluster bombs, and you have the list and photographic evidence, as I do, of the women and children that represented the vast majority of the deaths in this first strike that Obama authorized on Yemen, those people were murdered by President Obama on his orders because there was believed to be someone from Al-Qaeda in that area. There's only one person that's been identified that had any connection to Al-Qaeda there, and 21 women and 14 children were killed in that strike. And the U.S. tried to cover it up and say it was a Yemeni strike, and we know from the WikiLeaks cables that David Petraeus conspired with the president of Yemen to lie to the world about who did that bombing. It's murder it's mass murder when you say we are going to bomb this area because we believe a terrorist is there, and you know that women and children are in the area. I'm sorry, that's murder. Is that our policy is actually giving a greater incentive to people to become terrorists or to become insurgents or to become rebels against the United States.
I have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
President Obama authorized his first known drone strike 3 days after taking office, as he was announcing this radical shift from the Bush-era doctrine of preventive and preemptive war. President Obama is running an assassination program where in a 2-week span in Yemen, he killed 3 U.S. citizens, none of whom have been indicted or charged with any crime. And Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, a 16-year-old U.S. citizen, whose only crime appears to have been that his last name was al-Awlaki, was murdered in a U.S. strike. And there has been no explanation as to why a 16-year-old U.S. citizen was killed. There is no indication that any suspected militants were killed. There's no indication that any known al-Qaeda figures were killed. That family deserves an explanation. The American people deserve an explanation.
There is a legal justification for us to try to stop them from carrying out plots.
Is there going to be any evidence presented?
I don't have anything for you on that.
Do you not see at all? Does the administration not see at all how a president asserting that he has the right to kill an American citizen without due process, and that he's not going to even explain why he thinks he has that right, is troublesome to some people?
I wasn't aware of any of those things that you said actually happening. And
I think that there's this perception somehow that we're just sending in a whole bunch of strikes willy-nilly. This is a targeted, focused effort at people who are on a list of active terrorists.
And there's this, quote, Mr. Obama embraced a disputed method for counting civilian casualties that did little to box him in. It, in effect, counts all military-age males in a strike zone as combatants, according to several administration officials, unless there is explicit intelligence posthumously proving them innocent.
I want to make sure that people understand actually drones have not caused a huge number of civilian casualties.
I want to take a look at some actual numbers here that the president didn't mention. This is according to a report put together by the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. Between 2,000 and 3,000 people have been killed by drones in Pakistan, and of those, as many as 780 are civilians. 175 have been children, and of the 312 drone strikes that have taken place, President Obama has issued 260 of them.
And among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We affirm the promise of our democracy. We recall that what binds this nation together is not the colors of our skin, or the tenets of our faith, or the origins of our names.
The CIA's drone campaign in Pakistan has killed dozens of civilians who've gone to rescue victims or were attending funerals. So concludes a new report by the London-based Bureau of Investigative Journalism. It found since President Obama took office 3 years ago, between 282 and 535 civilians have been reported as killed, including more than 60 children. The investigation also revealed at least 50 civilians were killed in follow-up strikes when they'd gone to help victims. More than 20 civilians have also been attacked in deliberate strikes on funerals and mourners.
U.S. drone strikes during Obama's first 2 years in office exceeded the total carried out during Bush's tenure.
We've got to make sure that in whatever operations we conduct, we are very careful about avoiding civilian casualties. And in fact, there are a whole bunch of situations where we will not engage in operations if we think that there's going to be civilian casualties involved.
Well, President Obama began bombing Yemen in December of 2009, and in the first strike that he authorized, cruise missiles and cluster bombs, which are these horrifying flying landmines that just shred people into meat, was an erroneous bomb, and it actually hit a village full of very, very poor Bedouins and killed over 40 of them. And the Yemeni government tried to cover it up and say that it was Yemeni forces that did it, but we know from the WikiLeaks cables that in fact it was U.S. forces, and we actually went there and filmed the missile parts and saw they were made by General Dynamic. They said made in the United States on them.
For history tells us that while these truths may be self-evident, they've never been self-executing. That while freedom is a gift from God, it must be secured by His people here on earth. The Patriots of 1776 did not fight to replace the tyranny of a king with the privileges of a few. They gave to us a republic, a government of and by and for the people.
I will provide our intelligence and law enforcement agencies with the tools they need to track and take out the terrorists without undermining our Constitution and our freedom. That means no more illegal wiretapping of American citizens. No more national security letters to spy on citizens who are not suspected of a crime. No more tracking citizens who do nothing more than protest a misguided war. No more ignoring the law when it is inconvenient. That is not who we are.
Tell us why. I think the Patriot Act is unpatriotic because it undermines our liberty. I'm concerned, as everybody is, about the terrorist attack. But why I really fear it is we have drifted into a condition that we were warned against because our early founders were very clear. They said, don't be willing to sacrifice liberty for security. Today, it seems too easy that our government and our Congresses are so willing to give up our liberties for our security. I have a personal belief that you never have to give up liberty for security. You can still provide security without sacrificing our Bill of Rights.
Games. Big government Republicans and Democrats were busy shredding the last vestiges of the Constitution. They're talking about inserting the Army into domestic law enforcement. Senator Lindsey Graham, who supports this bill, says, quote, "The homeland is part of the battlefield. and people can be held without trial, whether an American citizen or not.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
The Senate will pass tomorrow a bill allowing the American military to imprison American citizens indefinitely without charge or trial.
Congress is essentially authorizing the indefinite imprisonment of American citizens without charge or trial.
I think that denigrates the very foundation of this country. It denigrates the Bill of Rights. It denigrates what our founders intended.
The original Constitution, I think it is an imperfect document. I think we can say that the Constitution reflected an enormous blind spot in this culture, and that the framers had that same blind spot. It also reflected the fundamental flaw of this country that continues to this day.
It is that fundamental belief, I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper.
Dear brothers and sisters, now is the time to open your eyes. In a stunning move that has civil libertarians stuttering with disbelief, the U.S. Senate has just passed a bill that effectively ends the Bill of Rights in America. The National Defense Authorization Act is being called the most traitorous act ever witnessed in the Senate, and the language of the bill is cleverly designed to make you think it doesn't apply to Americans. This bill, passed late last night in a 93-7 vote, declares the entire USA to be a battleground upon which U.S. military forces can operate with impunity, overriding posse comitatus and granting the military the unchecked power to arrest, detain, interrogate and even assassinate U.S. citizens with impunity. The passage of this law is nothing less than an outright declaration of war against the American people by the military-connected power elite. If this is signed into law, it will shred the remaining tenets of the Bill of Rights and unleash upon America a total military dictatorship, complete with secret arrests, secret prisons, unlawful interrogations, indefinite detainment without ever being charged with a crime, the torture of Americans and even the legitimate assassination of U.S. citizens right here on American soil. If you have not yet woken up to the reality of the police state we've been warning you about, I hope you realize we are fast running out of time. Once this becomes law, you have no rights whatsoever in America, no due process, no First Amendment speech rights, no right to remain silent, nothing.
Mr. President,
all right,
are you ready for one?
All right, well, you tell me when it's properly settled. I don't want to mess this up. I have been told that it makes a difference who the person behind the bar is.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. I mean, so can people vouch for this guy?
Yeah.
That's all right. I need one for the ambassador.
We have Mr.
The aftermath of an attack on the US consulate building in Benghazi, an attack that eventually claimed the lives of the US ambassador to Libya and
Mohammed, don't make our people angry because they will kill.
We have Mr. Rooney.
And by the way, I just want you to know that the president pays his bartender.